I love anal sex. I think it feels really good, and I love women. I'm really gay.
Yeah, you're just doing like really long. I feel like
people know how to stroke their dick. Like, you know, you can just be like a mattress actress and like, you know, do your scene or whatever. But like, if you want to build something and you want to like make a really good career for yourself, there's a lot of work to it.
Hey, I'm Ariel Demure.
Hi, I'm Maddie Collins. Hey guys, I'm Maya Woulfe.
Hi, I'm Little Puck.
I'm Bree Mills, and you're listening to the Adult Time Podcast. And we're back.
We're here.
And Maya Woulfe is here.
I am. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being here, Maya.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a little while. How you been doing?
I've been doing all right.
Yeah. Give me one like fun fact about life recently.
My cat learned to climb my stripper pole.
Darn cats.
Laying on my bed one day, and I just like look over, and he's like halfway up the pole, just like, I don't.
Cats do the darndest things.
It was really cute.
But I have questions. So, I mean, I know cats can climb many things, but there generally needs to be some kind of traction for the claws to get in.
Silicone pole.
Aha,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's definitely ruining my pole.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I just look at him and laugh, and I'm like, oh, you're so cute. Yeah.
I have a lot of respect. I have a profound respect for those that can wield a wielding a stripper pole is not the right word. Like, be able to get to the top of the stripper pole. Climbing it. Yeah. I have only attempted once. Mm-hmm. It was not professionally. It was at somebody's house. Yeah. After a evening out, shall we say. And I looked at it and I thought, I bet I could climb that. And I couldn't.
It takes a lot of muscle.
It's hard.
Yeah. And you like use muscles that you don't think you're going to. Like I use my arm and back muscles to pull me up, but then I use like my feet to like give me stability and like push up on that.
So how did you gain the experience of the pole?
Well, actually, before I ever started stripping, which I didn't do for long, I'm not a great stripper. I can dance. I like to dance. It makes me happy, but I get like really nervous up on a stage. But I started going to like dance, like stripper classes because I wanted to like have a little bit of knowledge under my belt before I started stripping in a club. And so I learned like the basics there. And then, I don't know, after that, I kind of got my own pole like a couple years later and just I like to dance. So I just like to play around on it. And like I was into gymnastics when I was younger. So I like learning how to do tricks. That's why I have a silicone pole because it gives you like a lot of grip to learn to do like really cool stuff.
Yeah, do like flips and all that. So you mentioned that you do some dancing now, but it's not necessarily your favorite thing, which I totally get. Because to me, it seems like a nightmare if I had to strip. But some people are like amazing and love it, and it's like their passion.
Well, now I like go-go dance, which I actually really love because it's like you're still dancing in a club, but you're on a stage, but it's a different vibe, than a strip club. Yeah. Like, not everybody's there to watch you. You're just kind of more like an accessory to the ambiance of the place that you're in. Yeah. Versus like going to a strip club where people are like there to like watch you get naked. And I also don't get naked either. Like I wear very like revealing outfits, but I'm not like fully nude. Yeah. So yeah.
So there are fine nuances. So did you? I know that we've talked a little bit in the past about your kind of journey into adult work and you've had various different kind of incarnations of that. Did you start with the go-go dancing?
No, that was actually something that I was able to start doing around the time I got into porn, actually. I became affiliated with this modeling group, and they have a contract with a bar here in LA to hire those models to dance there. So once I became a suicide girl, I started working at that club.
Nice. Okay. So tell me a little bit about your kind of journey to becoming Maya Woulfe. Like what are the early origins?
I mean, I don't know. I started sex work 10 years ago now. But like Maya wasn't really like a concept in my head when I started doing sex work. It wasn't really until I started working at the dungeon and started doing like fetish and boudoir photography that I was like, modeling, that I was like, okay, I should like make a persona. And like, I mean, I'd had many personas, every person when they're in all types of sex work, they give out fake names just for their own safety. So, I had been Rachel and Aaliyah and whoever the else.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started like thinking that I could build something for myself that I like conceptualized Maya Woulfe. Yeah.
What were your inspirations for choosing Maya Woulfe as your name and your identity?
I had always liked the name Maya. I thought it was really pretty. And when I worked at the dungeon, I had asked them if that could be my name, and they said no. Like, we just had a Maya. People get really confused because they like would call in sometimes and be like, who's available? And like, so they were like, you can't be Maya. And I was like, okay. So then when it was time for me to pick my own name, I was like, I like Maya. I'm going to pick Maya. And then Woulfe, I don't know. There was this lady that I had like seen around the fetish community, and her last name was Woulfe, and I thought it was really pretty. And I kind of feel like a little bit of a lone wolf a lot of the time. So I was like, okay, I like it. And it has like, I don't know, to me, it has a nice ring to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Walk me through, because I don't know, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening or watching this don't know. What is, you mentioned like sometimes people call into the dungeon. Like walk us through like how does one discover a dungeon in their local community, and what are like the general like steps towards becoming affiliated and what happens within the dungeon space?
Yeah. Okay, so when I had just moved back to Los Angeles, I'd always been kind of curious about like the BDSM community, and I like dipped my toes in and like, done some like rough stuff, but I had never really like fully immersed myself in that community. And so when I came back, I was looking for a new job. And I was like, well, if there's going to be something like that, it's going to be somewhere like Los Angeles or New York, one of these larger cities. And so I like went on Google and I go and like type in Los Angeles fetish dungeons. And there's probably like maybe 10 or so of them at the time. And so I look through the ones that I'm interested in. And then I find one that I'm like, okay, this is, close to my house-ish. They all seemed really... they had been there for like 30 years, so it seemed like legitimate. And there was like lots of pretty girls that worked there. You could like see all their pictures and what they do and stuff like that. So I emailed them and then went and had like an interview with them a couple days later.
What was the interview like?
They asked me about if I'd ever done anything in sex work before and what experience I had, like doing fetish stuff, and then just kind of general questions, like wanting to get to know me, my availability, things like that. And then it ended with like, you had to start as a submissive there, unless you had previous experience working at another dungeon and they could verify that. So at the end, they did like a little pain test on us. So,
oh, wow.
Like spanked us a little bit.
That would probably be the part of the interview where I'd be like, this is not for me. but could be the start of many successful scenes, I could imagine.
Yeah. It was interesting. And then I started working there like a couple of days later.
Yeah. And what were some of, or like, is there a moment in your time there that stands out to you as being particularly significant, especially for what led you to what's next?
I don't know if there's one moment, but just like the feeling I felt of like community there was really nice. And I, as I got into like modeling and then porn, I kind of started to feel that same thing. Because sex work can be, really lonely a lot of the time. There's not always like communities for you to be involved in, especially if you're doing things like camming or phone sex operator. Like you're doing a lot of that stuff by yourself. So just like being surrounded by other women who are doing the same thing was just something that I like wanted more of. And I've definitely found that in the porn industry. Yeah, I have a lot of really lovely friends that I'm grateful for.
When you decided, what led you to, want to decide shooting content with studios?
So I was working at the fetish dungeon and it had shut down. And right before it had shut down, I had a profile in Sexy Jobs, to try and bring people into the dungeon and like meet some photographers on there and stuff. Cause I was, modeling. And I was setting all those shoots up by myself. Like my whole first like portfolio of stuff is just things that I was like finding people. And so when I was on there, I got recruited by a couple of agencies, and I had talked to them in like January or February of 2020, like right before everything shut down.
Mhm.
And I don't know why, just something in my gut was like, this isn't right. Like, don't do this yet.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't, because then I would have like flown to, because they also wanted to fly me to Florida, and I was already living here in Los Angeles, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, like, I don't know.
Yes,
It's
it
like
is
a
the
thing-
start of many girls' stories that usually don't always end that well. So your intuition was probably good.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I waited, because then I got recruited again a couple months later. You know, everything was shut down. The dungeon I was working at, like, it had opened back up kind of, but like not in the same capacity.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just kind of was like, well, I'm already doing stuff like this. I already had my OnlyFans and was making content with like my ex-boyfriend at the time. And I was like, why wouldn't it make sense for me to do this on a larger scale and have these companies that I'm working for advertise for me and promote the things that I'm already doing for me,
Mhm.
and use that to like springboard and make my own platform? And it really has worked. I don't do a lot of my own like advertising or things. You know, people just find me from all of the companies and studios I've worked with and scenes I've shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have an unprecedented breakthrough in technology that has the potential to redefine life itself. It's a new form of entertainment unlike anything has anybody ever seen before.
So what, it's like some kind of VR game?
It has its similarities, but this is so much more than that. Imagine being on stage where the boundaries between dreams and waking life blur, where you become capable of manifesting your wildest dreams every night.
Is it safe?
What if you could control your dream state the same way a filmmaker directs a movie?
The whole point of tonight was to introduce them to the dream link. Don't fuck this up for us.
And what if you could share that with a friend? A shared dream experience.
What are you, some kind of mad fucking scientist?
And this is the future.
What have been some of, you mentioned community is something that extended when you joined porn and you found, you know, to be really enriching. What are some of the other big things you learned about porn, or misconceptions, things that you learned that you didn't anticipate or expect? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's a lot harder than people think it is. You know, you can just be like a mattress actress and like, you know, do your scene or whatever. But like, if you want to build something and you want to like make a really good career for yourself, there's a lot of work to it. You know, there's social media, there's networking, there's, you know, putting 100% into all of your scenes, because like, that's not easy either. Your scenes are very taxing on your body, especially when you're first getting in. Like, you're just not used to having sex with that many people. So your body goes through this like reaction of like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, and the amount of sort of self-care and sexual health you learn
Along
by
the way.
being thrown in the deep end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like learning things about boric acid and like putting iodine in douches, or I use like certain antiseptic like body wash and mouthwash too, just to like try and keep myself as healthy as possible, because you are like, you know, you're swapping spit with people like often.
Yeah.
You're gonna get sick. Yeah.
Yeah. If you were going to give advice to somebody coming into the industry today, now that, you know, you've been in for, you know, several
Almost 4
years.
years,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. Like, it's so weird, the pandemic, right? Like, it's such a measurement we all can like go back and be like, oh yeah, the pandemic. And it's like, fuck, that was going on 5 years ago. Anyway, you're like a seasoned pro now. So what advice do you have for somebody coming in now based on like what you've learned that, you know, you would give to them in terms of words of wisdom?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be to find the right agent. I think there's a lot of people that could steer your career in the wrong way. And I think that person is really vital to whether or not you're going to make it in this industry. Not all the time, you know. There are some people who like, they're going to make it no matter what. You know, they just have something about them. but I think it is really important.
Yeah. And steering in the right way for you, I know you ultimately found an agent that's been really good with you. What have been some of like the positive things for people to look out when it comes to being steered in a good path versus being steered in a bad path?
A lot of the time when people get into this industry, the person booking them will book them as much as they possibly can. And they'll make a lot of money in a really short amount of time, but that's not giving them a lot of space for a career that has longevity in it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't shoot as much as you can and make as much money as you can, because that's something that's really great about porn is you can make a lot of money really fast. But I've been able to shoot for years because, I'm not taking 15 shoots a month. I can shoot for these companies again and again and again over a space of years because they've only shot me once or twice. And so like, even though I didn't make as much money as I possibly could have right away, I also haven't burnt out and I haven't overshot myself or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, freedom. I also, like the importance of communication, I would say too, right? Like being able to be like presented opportunities that you can take a decision on whether you want to do that or not versus, kind of having a calendar of bookings presented to you and not much of a feeling of agency.
A feeling like you can say yes or no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know for sure in my time, like I remember when I first started producing, it was very much, if you were booking a project, it would be like a number of acronyms. You'd be like a date and then like the type of scene, if it's a boy girl or a BGA or whatever the acronym is. And kind of that was all the information that was exchanged. And now, like, all these years later, you look back on that and you're like, that is, how far we have come, right? So like now it's like it's a full, if you're doing porn professionally, it's, a full pitch, opportunity for people to see who the co-stars are in advance, to weigh in on that, to be able to like really sign off on every sex act, and I think for me, that's like a real important thing too, for people to know going in.
Yeah,
right?
It's informed consent.
Absolutely informed consent. How do you, like, speaking of consent, obviously it's a huge part of our industry and the way that we work. How do you feel like, you have been able to translate what you've learned in sex work, into your, civilian life, as we call it, when it comes to like promoting consent and communication?
I think the craziest thing is like a lot of people who don't do sex work just have this really weird mindset around just asking people questions about their sexuality and what they like and what feels good with them, or if they want to do something. Like if I'm with someone for like the first couple of times, like it's so interesting to see them react to how I ask, like, can I kiss you? Can I touch you? Can I do this to you? And they're just like, I don't know. I feel like they're weirded out that I'm
it's almost they're almost embarrassed, right?
Yeah,
no, I get that too. Like if people are kind of like, ooh, like it's like, why are you asking me? It's like, because I should.
I want to hear you say yes. It makes me want to do it more when I know that it's something that you want. And I feel like a lot of the time people can like assume, especially with men, that they'll want that, but it's better to know.
Oh yeah.
It's always better to know.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice to be able to. I like one of the things at Adult Time that we try to do is, we've got content across the spectrum. So we've got like the most, sort of stereotypical, porno scenes, and then we have stuff that's really transgressive. But like throughout it all, I think it's important to like infuse the informed consent throughout the dialogue, right?
Consent.
Exactly. Yeah. You want your actors to be checking in with each other. Obviously, we do a whole check-in beforehand. Yeah. And we're, managing that throughout the scene. But to bring it on camera is just a good model for people who are watching it to think like, oh, maybe I should ask if it's okay, right?
I like to do that, especially because a lot of the times, like if I'm trying to transition us to some other position, I'll work it into the like dialogue that we're doing. I'll be like, can I do this to you? Can I eat your pussy? Or can I like bend you over? Can I eat your ass? Because it's like, like you said, a good example. And also it like allows me to seamlessly transition the scene along without interrupting it.
Yeah. That's like a pro. We appreciate you for that. It's so nice when the actors help you set up for the transition. So you've done a lot of scenes over your career, right? Like you mentioned, you've been able to pace them out, but you've been able to also work with a lot of different companies, try a lot of different kinds of scenes. What are some of your favorite types of scenes to shoot?
Okay, my favorite types of scenes to shoot are Gonzo scenes, but my favorite types of like projects to work on are features.
Okay, so let's break it down. What about Gonzo do you love and why do you love it?
It's just like raw.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I feel like a lot of the times, especially with things that have like more of like a situational thing going on, it's like today we're doing like the library thing. So it's like, you know, act like you're a lady in a library while you're having sex. And
Yes,
like, it's fun, you know, it feels like you're like role playing a little, and you are.
Yeah.
But I think there's just something really cool about just like raw sexual passion and just like getting to just fuck and just like show. I think a lot of us are really skilled because we do this so much and you learn so many things that it's just a really cool way to like show off that like sexual athleticism.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because, you know, we've sort of historically been a platform more rooted in story-driven content, right? And definitely that's like our bread and butter, if you will. But there's a huge portion of our audience that loves all sex content.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've been kind of reflecting over the last couple of programming seasons, like how do we get into that space?
Doesn't Adult Time as a whole own a couple of the bigger companies that do shoot more of that? Like,
so yeah, within Adult Time itself, not so much. Within like the larger conglomerate of our parent company, yeah, we partner with and do own a couple of larger, well-known Gonzo or like all sex focused companies. But definitely those are their own engines. So, you know, our longstanding partner, Evil Angel, really, they really drive their content vision. And X Empire, including like Hard X and Lesbian X, is a network that we own, but it's also too like reflective of the vision of Mason and a lot of, you know, so within Adult Time itself, we've definitely done some all sex projects. In fact, we just recently launched an amazing release called The Bottom Floor, which is like an all sex party that our creators put on and then we filmed. But we haven't done too much. So it's one of the things that I'm really interested in, like how can we kind of come into that space? And I'm doing a few experiments over the next few months with a few of our different crews in that area. But it's interesting because there is this, I hear from a lot of talent this desire to like, let's get back to celebrating the sex. And it makes sense because, you know, we put you in a lot of like laundry, washing machines and like online libraries and like, you know, like that is, I get it.
I honestly have fun with those though. Like, I think that those are some of the silliest ways. Like you're laughing. It's hilarious because it's so like ridiculous sometimes.
It is. But a lot of porn has become, you know, like clickbait or like gimmicky or whatever. And not that it hasn't always been a bit, but like getting back to that, just like a focus on sex and letting talent just showcase sexuality. I hear a call from the community for sure. It's going to be interesting to see like how, in a way, it's like, how do we do it that stays true to,
your brand.
Well, that stays true to like the tenets of Gonzo, if you will, right? And those great brands that we mentioned that do it so well and have done it for so long while taking our own kind of twist on it, right? So I'm no doubt I'm sure we'll have you in one of those in the coming months, but I think it just comes down to like the people that are working on it, if it can be authentic, right? Like,
well, that's the most important thing is like putting people, especially for Gonzo, I feel like putting people together that actually want to work together is like so crucial.
Yes.
Because it is just this like raw, or it's supposed to be like this raw sexual energy between the two people working together. So if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
Things can be faked, but like it's
not going to be as good.
Something's missing.
Yeah. So when you're shooting a Gonzo scene, you know, without throwing anybody under the bus or limiting, if there are any either, you know, female or male top of the list names that come to mind, who are some of your favorites to work with? Just for my reference, you know, for future casting.
This one makes me sad because she just stopped shooting. I loved working with Alexis Tay, and I don't think we ever really got to do like a full Gonzo scene together.
Alexis, if you're out there and you ever want to come back, Maya would like you to do a hardcore Gonzo scene with her, and I would
She knows, I'm sure. We loved working together. We worked together so many times. Gosh, I would love to do a scene with Gia. Gia Darza.
Yep.
She's like a Gonzo queen.
I would put her in that category
and
for sure.
Jane too. Yeah. Who's also I think not shooting anymore.
Well, you know. We love Jane. Jane has a good rapport with Adult Time. So I would hope if she ever wants to come back again, she'd have an open invitation, and that would be fun to see. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Excellent form, ladies.
Oh, hey Ryan. I hope Lexi's sexy body doesn't distract you while you're trying to work, babe.
Well, I was hoping it would distract you.
Really?
Me and Lexi were talking about maybe the three of us having a little fun.
I was afraid that you wouldn't be into it.
I was afraid that you would judge me.
I know it can be hard to talk to your partner about the things that are your fantasies, but with a little bit of encouragement, you can make all your fantasies a reality.
And then you mentioned features.
I love features.
Okay, so what about features do you love?
Getting to act. Yeah, I didn't realize how much I enjoyed acting because I had never done it much before until I got into the industry. I had done like a couple of theater things. But actually the first time I ever really got to act in a scene was for Pure Taboo. Casey directed it. Yeah. And it was like this, I think it was called Unwanted.
I remember that scene.
Oh my God, yeah, that was wild. And afterwards, Casey told me that she thought I was a good actress. And I was like, that's really nice. Like, I had never heard that before. And then she put me in my first feature a couple months later. And I was like, wow, I really like doing this. I want to figure out how I get to do this more often.
Well, speaking of, it's actually, you gave me such a good segue into what I wanted. I want to talk to you about two features. Let's start with the first one that you did for Adult Time, and then we can go on to the latest one you've done for Adult Time. So you starred in Ricky Greenwood's Grinders, which was one of our projects. I think it was one of the first that came out after the pandemic. So it was one of within your first couple of years.
Yeah.
And that one went on to win kind of all the things that year. Had a great reception. What was your experience making that film in particular? And maybe share with us a little bit about, what that meant at that point in your career. Because it was I think, a big first feature role for you. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It was amazing. I was really excited. Ricky is another person who's just like put me in a lot of really lovely places and like cast me in things that I'm super grateful for. That was a really fun one because the cast was amazing and we all got along really well. Which is super important because you're spending like 12 hours together or
sometimes more.
Yeah. Like at one point, I think we shot Mine and Lucky's scene, which is shot late at night. I think we shot that at like 2 a.m. or something like that.
That does sound like a feature day.
You gotta want to be around the people that you're working with if you're like, up that late and like you just got to tough through it sometimes. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier if you're not like, oh, I hate this person.
Wasn't there was something with the pool, right? Didn't the pool, what happened with the pool?
Okay, so the lady that owned the house had started heating the pool too late, like that morning or something. And it's a huge pool. Pools take a long time to heat. And so we get to the part where we're supposed to like, jump into the pool and like look like we're all having fun. We've like broken into this house. It's supposed to be like us celebrating.
Yeah.
I'm not a cold person. I grew up in the desert.
Yeah.
I jump into this freezing cold pool. It is not warm at all. I feel like she lied about when she started it. And I'm still trying to push through it. I want to be a trooper. I want to like get the project done. I know these things are expensive to shoot. They're like, Maya, you're shivering. And I'm like, I know. I can't stop. I'm sorry.
I'm having so much fun. Yeah.
And so then we ended up doing a reshoot day where they heated the pool properly.
Yep.
We shot it in the daytime instead. Honestly, I feel like even though it probably cost adult time a lot of money, sorry guys.
We do believe in like performer comfort above all else. So, you know, sometimes when pools are frigid, we need to reschedule.
Yeah. I feel like it made it better though, because, you know, we were able to end up filming it in the daytime and we were able to actually enjoy it. And like we spent more time filming other stuff because we already had the day. And the location and everything. So I feel like because we were able to invest more time into it, and it ended up being like a better all-around product at the end. It didn't feel like rushed.
Yeah. I would say that's one of the best elements of feature production is, you know, for those that don't know, our feature budgets are not on the same scale as mainstream or even independent low budget features. We have to do a lot with not a lot. So oftentimes, you know, you do your best as a director to, you know, get as much as you can while still maintaining, you know, good, not too long hours, usually just working magic with like a couple locations. And something's always going to go wrong.
Oh, of course, always.
So you need to be flexible to adapt and adjust. And most of the magic moments come from having to think on a dime and switch. Yeah. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. And we loved Grinders because, you know, one of our we always set objectives for our projects. I love objectives. And one of the objectives that year was we really, you know, we work with a lot of the same folks, like amazing talent, a lot of really experienced performers, a lot of performers that have, you know, got full trophy cases and stuff. And we really wanted with that project to spotlight up and coming talent at the time.
I feel like you really did that.
Yeah. And I think that's the greatest achievement of the project. And it ended up making it what it was that all of you were newer in the industry. It was some of everybody's first big roles and you nailed it. It was amazing. Yeah. It's one of the shining stars in our history is really that project. So, and that's an even better transition to the next question, which is, at the time of recording this, we are one day away from the release of the first GIRLSWAY feature since the pandemic. GIRLSWAY is actually celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year in October, which makes me feel very old. But we kind of built our brand on features. That was a big part of the first few years of the brand.
That's so interesting because like the whole time I've been in, this is like you just said, the first one.
Yeah, no, we went like hard. We were doing a feature like 2 or 3 a year.
Wow.
And at the time we were really the only all-girl brand that was doing feature projects. And we went, someone once called us the lesbian Marvel, like the lesbian Marvel comics, just because of all the recurring characters and everything. And but you know, as brands grow, they hit a point. Obviously, we launched Adult Time afterwards, and GIRLSWAY became part of Adult Time. And then, you know, features started to go under the Adult Time banner, and you know, we focused on that for a few years. So I'm really happy to be bringing features back to GIRLSWAY. And I'm really happy that you were a part of an all-star cast of the movie SPUN, which is going to come out in July. So walk us through without giving, I guess by this point it will be out. So tell us about that project and what it was like to reunite with Casey Calvert, who came in to write and direct it.
Yeah. Well, I love working with Casey. She's one of my favorite people to work with as like a talent and as a director. And a friend. Like, I just think she's great. So anytime I get an opportunity to work with her, I'm super excited, especially for things she's writing and directing. Like, I think she's amazingly talented. So yeah, I'm always on board for whenever she wants to do something. And then getting to see like the cast and be a part of like another adult feature, like it's just always something I want to do. And I love women. I'm really gay.
That's good. I am too. So it's you're amongst good company.
So I think that was the first all-girl feature I've ever done, actually. So that was really exciting.
Nice. And it was an amazing cast too.
Yeah.
It was like a who's who of the most popular girls on GIRLSWAY. So yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I liked my character. She she was the girlfriend of one of the main characters, and she goes home to meet all of her friends, and it just goes terribly wrong. Like, they don't like me. It's interesting. I always get to play like this sweet, nice girl, and so this time my character was kind of like bitchy and like a little bit mean.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
So what are the types of, like, if you were looking ahead to roles you'd want to do in the future, like what kind of projects, like, you know, themes, genres, types of characters would you be interested the most in playing?
I want to do something like thriller related or like horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those types of movies. So that would be really fun. Or like maybe like an action thing. I know there's a couple companies have been doing stuff like that. I wrote like a thriller and an action piece, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll get something together. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Listen, I know we've talked that you have interest in those realms, and I one day you will, there will be a knock. I promise you. Because I love people who are creative. And I know that within your, you know, kind of your career, you do a lot of work within the art space, right? Like in terms of multimedia, or like, tell me a little bit about some of your passions above and beyond sexuality.
I love to paint. I do like physical paintings and also digital stuff, mostly like abstract. So that's something I really love to do. It just makes me really happy. I write poetry. I have 2 books that are anthologies that I've written. One of them has like 180 pages or so, and the other one has around 50 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've illustrated some stuff for the one that's more complete as well.
Do you ever think about, I mean, nowadays, you know, it's so easy and at such high quality to self-publish. Have you ever thought about publishing something?
I've definitely thought about self-publishing it. I had been thinking about shopping it around a little bit at first, but the book that I have mostly completed, it's very personal, and I want to be able to have a hand in things like the editing and the illustrations that I'm doing and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of the times, if you go with a publishing company, you don't really get as much say.
Not necessarily, yeah.
Which I understand. You know, everybody has their way of wanting to do things, but because it is such a personal project, I do feel like I want to like have the overall.
Hey, I fully support creative ownership. It's really important. Yeah, just ask my team. They have to deal with me all the time.
But it's hard because I don't want to release it as Maya Woulfe, and I feel like with self-publishing, like you can publish a book, but there are so many books published that like if you self-publish, sometimes you're just throwing it into a void. Yeah, it's out there, but like unless you have a way to market it, like it's not going to get read by anybody.
Yeah. I know that you've done, you know, I think we were talking about before the interview that, you know, there was your time working within the fetish community, obviously your time in porn. Am I right that you did some phone sex stuff too?
I should do that.
Okay, that's got to be fascinating.
Yeah, that was fun.
So can you please tell me about how you got into phone sex and just like the world of phone sex?
And actually, I got into phone sex operating through porn. Like once I created Maya, I started using, you know, more services and like more platforms to try and like expand the brand that I had, you know, either like by their like interfaces on their websites, like people finding me. So I joined like Sex Panther and a couple other companies, and then I would like just turn my phone on at night and people could just like start texting me or calling me. And that was really fun. I like had a couple of sessions where I would just like talk to someone for hours and hours, or sometimes like it was like a 5-minute call, like everything. It was just like all over the place. Like every time you picked up a call, you never really knew what to expect.
Well, and it's just like kind of like, you know, it's obviously coming from Sex Panther, but you have no, like, there's no you don't know who is going to be on the other end of the line.
Not unless they're like been texting you already and they're like, I want to like set up a call with you.
Yeah.
But like, if you can turn your phone like available, not available. So like if you turn it on, it puts you on like an explore page pretty much. And at that point, like anybody, even people that like don't know who I am have like called me. Like they have no idea that I am like this porn star. They just like see my thing on the thing. Yeah. They're like, oh, she's hot. Let's call her.
Yeah, it's fascinating because like, I guess it's just, you know, for me, like I was trying to put myself in the mindset of someone who would do the cold call. I hate cold calling.
Oh yeah.
And I don't also like receiving cold calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I make anybody who calls me, of which at this point there's like 2 people. You have to give me I need to know like red flag, orange flag, or green flag before the call, and then you can call.
Yeah.
So like, is it an adrenaline rush to like just know, oh, that phone's ringing? Like, I don't know who is going to be on the other end of the line.
I don't know if I would say it's an adrenaline rush. It's definitely surprising, especially because sometimes you could like really end up enjoying talking to the people.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you really get into it. Like a lot of the times I'm just sitting there like pretending to do stuff. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I actually like talking to this person. I'm actually getting kind of like horny and turned on. And like maybe I will actually touch myself instead of just going.
Yeah, just making sound effects in the background. So what's the percentage of those who are cold calling that want to just talk versus those that are really looking to like get off at the end of the session?
I feel like a lot of the times when I was doing calls, it was just people that were like already jerking it and like just wanted to like hear the sound of a woman's voice while they like nutted.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's just and how do they ask for that? So you answer the phone. You can probably tell.
You can usually hear.
You can hear some
they're
slapping.
Kind of like out of breath a little bit.
Do they say hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Do they engage in small talk, or is it?
I feel like a lot of the times they'll just like say something like perverse.
Okay.
And then like.
Can you give me an example, Maya? I want to know an example.
Like, oh God, I don't know.
Do your best.
Like, are you touching yourself already?
Okay.
It's like.
And you're like, yeah, no. I'm out grocery shopping.
Yeah, I am. Are you touching yourself for me? I can hear you. I know you are.
Good. Okay.
And then you just kind of like let it snowball from there, you know? Because like I can tell like right away that's what someone wants is they just like want someone to like get them to the point where they're like pushed over the edge.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you ever accidentally leave that note like that notification on, but you're not in the mood, and you're like getting that call and someone's asking you if you're touching yourself and you just want to be like, no.
No, I feel like I'm pretty good because I don't have it on a lot, especially anymore. And I feel like I was always kind of like, I don't like to take phone calls. So like when I'm taking them, I'm like, okay, we're sitting down and we're taking
then you're just waiting for the phone call.
Definitive. Yeah. So I've never like laissez-faire, like, oh no, who is this? And I also don't answer random phone calls. So I feel like if I were to get a number and not realize it was on, I would just ignore it.
So does it come up like, I guess it must come up where you can recognize this. Is there a special ring?
It's been a while. When I was doing Sex Panther last, you were able to get texts and calls directly to your phone, but now you can't do that with text. So I wonder if it's different with phone now too.
Yeah.
It probably is.
You know, interesting. We'll have to do some investigative reporting. We should just like turn it on and wait for a call and just see what we get. Put it live on speaker. Yeah, I mean, I would find out like I grew up probably in the last era of like people who would prank call. Like I don't really think people still prank call.
Do you prank? Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's terrible. I hate to admit it. We didn't do much, but we would do. You'd go to the back of like the classified ads where it had, you know, like people that would still leave their phone numbers, like, you know, whatever, looking for a connection. And we thought it was funny to call. Now, I'm not going to say that I ever instigated this. I would feel like I was a follower and that I participated, but I definitely did for like one hot summer until someone called us out on that. And then that was like the end of it. But I would feel so tempted to do that with one of these people. Like they call and they're like, you touch yourself. And then you just like, you know, you just launch into some Jerky Boys routine or something and see, and see like how quickly can you make them not want to come? That would be.
Well, some people do want that. Like they want like tease and denial stuff.
There you go.
You know, like there's always kinky people that are like, want you to edge them.
The JOI community. Yeah.
I feel so, actually, I don't mind it like on the phone, but like doing a video JOI like by myself, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Can I like have a pretty girl to like bounce off of or something?
Yeah, you're just doing like really long stroke.
People know how to stroke their dick. Like,
listen, they need a visual, an empty visual with a countdown. And the countdown can't be too fast. Yeah, I know. When my wife was shooting, customs and stuff, you'd always get a lot of requests for the JOIs, but they're always so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But props, everybody. We should get some JOI props. Fake dicks. At least be stroking something.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah,
honestly, it does.
It all started with a message from a guy I met online. He was charming, attractive, and very into me. But there was a twist. He was married. I was disappointed, but at the same time, his transparency piqued my curiosity. He said he liked to share women with his wife, and that I was just her type. Hi, I'm Emma.
I know. I'm Casey.
And your husband?
Don't worry about him. When I see something I like, I get to have her first.
Well, this is like the best transition into our rapid fire segment that I could ever imagine. Okay, so this is how we end the interviews. I am not responsible for these questions, although yours are not too bad. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you prefer to give or receive?
Like in general or in sexual circumstances?
Maya, this was the only question I got. No. Let's do both. In let's say like on camera, off camera.
Okay. Gosh, I don't know. I would say I'm a giver. Again, just in general. Like especially in my like romantic relationships, like I love to make the person I'm with feel loved, and I love to make them feel good, and I just like in any way, like not even just sexually, like I love to love.
Love it. I wouldn't know what the answer to this would be. What anime character are you most attracted to?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not really attracted to anime characters. I don't really have one, honestly. Like I'm not like a hentai girly who's like attracted to like non-real things.
Well, you know what? Even that in itself is a good answer because you are so in the minority.
Yeah.
Whenever I ask, what kind of porn do you watch? 95% of the response I get is hentai.
Oh, see, I don't watch porn.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to think or like be stimulated by anything else when I'm masturbating. Like I just want to be present in the moment and enjoy the feeling that I'm feeling.
Gotcha. So there's nothing going on. Is there anything going on in your brain?
It's really just like focusing on feeling.
Yeah.
Like, just like being present in my body and being like, oh my God, that feels really good. I want to just like I feel like I think so much and like my brain is at like 100 miles per hour all the time that it's nice to just like.
Yeah, just lean in on the feels. Yeah, I feel you on that. Top 3 tips for pleasuring a woman.
Eat her pussy.
Yes.
Ask what she likes when you eat her pussy.
Indeed.
And don't go like, tease a little bit, like don't go from like 0 to 100 like right away.
There's not enough foreplay in life.
Build up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I feel you on that. Is anal over or underrated?
Interesting. I love anal. I hate the process of preparing for anal. So I don't know. Like I love anal sex. I think it feels really good. I can get orgasms that way. I don't think everybody can.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it's a lot of work.
It is. Do you have like an extensive anal prep process? Yeah. It's a multi-hour.
It takes like 45 minutes, but I still feel like that's a long time. And then also I feel you feel really empty after, or I like it because I clean out so deep. Like I just feel really different.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's like I feel really weak.
I would imagine as someone who has not prepped for a lot of anal scenes myself, but I would imagine the feeling of really being that cleared out would make you feel like faint. That's why we try to do anal scenes first thing in the day, folks.
Yeah.
That's the like an etiquette.
That.
Yeah, that is the etiquette. All right, last but certainly not least, I'm interested to hear this. Okay. So what's something non-sexual that turns you on?
Trust. Honesty, like being able to like be with someone that I like feel comfortable being vulnerable with and like don't feel like I have to be Maya Woulfe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of the times when you're being intimate with someone and they know what you do, they have like an expectation for you to like give this performance for them because they've maybe seen you do that.
Yeah.
and just like being able to just be real with someone is really nice.
Yeah. Oh man, that I completely understand that. It was funny. There was somebody who commented the other day on another one of these podcasts where I had a guest, and they were talking about their persona, and they said it in the third person. And the commenter's like, look at her disassociating with herself. She can't even be herself. It's like, no, you need to understand. Our personas, there's a
and
person.
Maya Woulfe is a person that I have made to cater to a certain image that sells.
Yeah. And the most important thing that I hope that we can teach people, especially fans of adult, through conversations like this, through social media, is that the person and the persona, while they may have
overlap,
may have similarities, are not the same.
Yeah.
And it's also okay and incredibly important not to lose the person.
Yeah.
And the people that we've seen go in this industry are often the people that have lost the person. And so very, very important to mention the persona in the third person and know that there's still a person underneath of it. Speaking of that amazing person and that amazing persona, please let everybody know where they can find you and follow you so that they can, because you're amazing.
I can be found on any platform, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. I don't use my TikTok, but it's all just at my name, Maya Woulfe, MayaWoulfe.
Awesome. And thank you for still having your original accounts. That's like a lifesaver.
I know. It's like, I'm so careful. I don't post anything on that.
I just wrapped my conversation with Maya Woulfe. Now, she describes herself as a lone wolf, but she's really one of the most talented actresses in the adult industry today. It was a pleasure to get to know her better. I got to learn about her really varied career within the adult space, from BDSM dungeons to go-go dancing to moonlighting as a phone sex operator, which was particularly fascinating. I also really like the fact that she is such a passionate actress and loves features, because of course that is what I love as well. So if you enjoyed my conversation with Maya, please make sure to follow her on all of her platforms. We have them linked below. And as always, if you enjoy this podcast, you can let us know by liking this video, by subscribing to our channel, by doing all the things, and we will make sure to be back with another cool episode for you next week. Thank you.